Hi, this is a very good question. I'm going to give you what I think, but I think there's probably other factors here that I just haven't thought of, or maybe I just don't know about. And the two things that were the major contributors were one, drugs, and number two, the music. Okay. Um, and they kind of, that combination is kind of a false community for black men. Okay. Okay, you're a regular black guy walking around and you don't have much power, but you want more. You want more, okay? And there's a promise of a false rich community, okay? The first one was drugs, okay? Drugs came into the black community via black men. They will tell you all kinds of crap, but it was black men that opened the door, okay? If you remember, if you've ever seen The Godfather, they talk about drugs. They were like, oh, no, you're not going to bring that into our community. Take it on down to the blacks. And the blacks accepted it. But it was the black men because black men ran the community, okay? Remember, we're talking an era with a lot of kids. Women are out here taking care of all their children. So that's what they did. They had a job maybe, but no, they weren't trying to figure out how to get into drugs. They were trying to figure out how to make sure their household ran well. And they were raising their, 5, 10, 12 kids because that was the size of some families. Ours was big. There was 12, 14 easily down the block. So the hope of a false community for black men started with drugs, okay? They brought in drugs and it affected them first and fastest. And I say that because I lost two male men on my street, two boys. One I went to school with. We were the same age, and we would literally be in class together, grade school, middle school. Now, I went to a high school that was not in my community, and he did, and he died before we were seniors. Someone told me, yeah, he's gone. I was like, what happened? Drugs. So in high school, I didn't see him, but he died from a drug overdose. The kid next door to me, same thing. I think he was maybe a year older, so we weren't in school together or in classes together, but before I graduated high school, he was gone, drug overdose. So black men brought drugs into the black community, sold it to each other first, because remember, girls were in the house. Most of us, if we got a job, maybe you could find us, but for the most part, no, we were at home. And the men died first, all right? And so instead of saying, no, you can't bring that in my community, and I think it's the false hope of the money they would make, the power they would have by selling drugs. But it's like they poison their own wealth. They poison their own community, all right? So that's number one. The second one was the music, because even when I was in high school, all the way up until the end of the 70s, and I'm in college in the 80s, and rap had just started, and it wasn't, the rap you hear today. It was, the fun rap, the dance rap, because that's all we did. High school, college students, we dance. That's all we did. And there was romance, all right? So those two were still intact. And later on, and I believe as a result of drugs coming in, all of a sudden you had families that were now broken apart due to drugs. And music came out of that. And that music was the rap that you hear today. All of a sudden you got kids starving. Kids would never starve when I was a kid. If there was somebody on the family who on our block who lost a job or something, baby, my mother, her friends, the neighbors, oh, we're going to get these folks some food. We're going to make sure they got some clothes. We're going to take care of them because that's our community. 15 years later, all of a sudden, you have tons of families that are broken apart due to drugs. And I won't get into, men going to jail or people dying so much. It was just that drugs ravaged the community. And the music that came out of that was the hard rap that then started the, oh, we hate women. Because before then, it was romance. It was how you take care of your woman, how you love your woman, how we are family. We're going to get married and have kids. That, the Temptations, all the groups were all about romance and love, or they were about dancing. After the hard rap came in, all of a sudden is women are bees and hoes. Women are bees and hoes. And it was like, what in the world happened? I didn't do nothing. men, again, that's the men in the community. They're the leaders. And baby, they rammed it down everybody's throat. So now you have 2 generations of men brought up on rap that says women are bees and hoes. Again, the false community of what the music says. Oh, we're going to all be rich. Just like we were all going to be rich with the drugs, we're all going to be rich rappers. Even though rap tears up your community. It beats down your women. It means you don't take care of your kids. All of a sudden, regular everyday guys who do the right thing are simps. It's like, it's craziness. But it is the false community of first drugs and then music. Black men stopped being kings because they were literally kings back then. And when I say kings, it's not a matter of money. Let's see. Back then, the men were honorable. They were leaders. They were responsible. When I say responsible, like I said, the next door neighbor would come over and help you with your kids. Or if you got boys in the street arguing over something, he'd come out and say, hey, he ain't got no kids. Come here. Y'all stop fighting. Because that was the community. A king builds up his team. He builds up his family. He builds up his community. There's a portion of the Bible that talks about widows and children, taking care of widows and children, building your community, taking care of your community. Black men stopped doing that. They just stopped. And they will tell you it's the women's fault, but we weren't the first ones to change. We weren't. The narrative about, they kicked men out. I lived during that era. And anybody who was already in their house stayed in their house. All right? That's not the way it worked at all. They've picked up that narrative, but baby, I was alive in the 60s and the 70s, and that was not the way it worked. If you were at home with your family, then you still at home with your family. Did nobody get kicked out? Nobody disappeared from their family. If you were out of your family or you didn't have a job, that might have been a different thing. But no, if it had an impact, I didn't see it at all. The fathers that were there last week, they stayed there up until they died. Okay? So that's what I think is the biggest problem. Okay, I might have missed some things, but it was first the drugs and then the music, because the music broke up the family. You can't have women respect men that call them B's and O's. And that just doesn't work. It tore up their families, because right now that is what men are on podcasts saying. The exact same thing, like it's okay, like it's normal, like somehow their women became subhuman. That came out of their mouth, nobody else's.